Well, the Missoula city government is really set up, I think, on the classic model of the separation of powers, and most especially here, it's a matter of the separation of the executive and the legislative branches. So that it's pretty much the model that we're familiar with at the federal and the state level. You have the legislature, which corresponds to the city council. The job of the legislature is to make the rules that we all live by. And the job of the governor is to execute, thus the word executive, the rules that are come up with, and also to propose policies to the legislative body. So the mayor is a person who proposes policy, and above all then is the person who is in charge of the executive branch and runs the executive branch so that the rules that we come up with are clearly and efficiently executed.
The way I perceive the council and mayor's relationships are as follows. I think the council is basically made up of part-time people from all sectors of the community, from every ward, from every different job type, age ranges. And the way I look at it, I think that these people should come together and decide on the direction for the city. And they should communicate that effectively to the mayor and through budgeting indicate their wishes. And then the mayor has the responsibility of administering the city. You know, every department, I think there's 17 departments, and in light of the parameters set down by the council. That's the way I believe it should work. Now, definitely under some forms, and I'm sure our current mayor would think that it's his responsibility to initiate several things. I think that's where you get into the differences, and you can have all kinds of forms there. You know, like some council people would believe that he shouldn't initiate anything. Other council people would believe he should initiate a lot. And so somewhere in between there, that's where you get a lot of your differences. And I should mention this, at the same level, some people in the council feel like they should be very involved in daily administrative matters, and others feel like they shouldn't be. And I'm one of those that feel like the council should have nothing to do with daily administrative matters.
I've actually always been a great believer and have been proud of kind of the Western tradition of allowing fairly easy access by the people to self-government. I myself, when I was in the legislature, led a campaign for a major statewide initiative. It was then Initiative 95, which was the in-state investment initiative having to do with the coal tax. So I've used the initiative process myself, and I believe that it can be an effective way of getting things done. So I don't object to the use of initiatives per se. I think what concerns me more is that when there gets to be a kind of sense that we want to replace representative government with initiatives. I'm very concerned about the statewide initiatives now that would really undermine, I think, representative government by requiring that practically all fiscal matters be put to a vote of the people or a supermajority of elected bodies. I don't think that's good democracy. But I think there is a place for the judicious use of initiatives, and I don't have any objection to that.
My response to the initiative and referendum idea is that, number one, it's in the Montana Constitution. So citizens have a right, if they do not feel like government is being responsive, whether it's Save the Fort or whether it's the air quality issue or any other issue, they have the right, if they feel like government is not being responsive, to come up with a petition and put it before the voters. And to be quite honest, I think that's not all so bad. I think there are definitely times government deals with a number of issues that maybe they don't have the pulse of the community. It's hard to tell. I think 95% of the time they do, but but I believe there are issues that they don't. And so if there's the energy of your convictions of where you can go out and sign up the number of people required, I think that's great. I think that should be done. Now, what I find is that if you're for a particular thing and people do it, then you're really for the petition process. If you're against it, then you think it's the worst thing in the world. So I think it's okay. I think it's great.
Well, that's something that I've thought a lot about because I've held a number of representative positions. I was elected as a state representative and served 4 terms there and served on the city council. And now, of course, I see myself as representing and responding to the people of Missoula in general. But in all of those positions, I have asked myself this question of what is the relationship between doing what your constituents want and what you want. Hopefully, most of the time it'll be the same. I mean, if you've been elected, then there should be some kind of rough correlation. But occasionally, there will be a difference. I have always taken the position that part of the bond of legitimacy and accountability that exists between elected officials and those who elect them, that it works better if when an elected official feels strongly about something, that he or she stands with what you believe in. And then if the people who elected you really do strongly disagree, they're the ultimate boss. They've got the right to take you out of office, and they should if they feel strongly enough about it. But I don't believe that representative government means that I simply go out and take a poll, in effect, every time an issue comes up and try to figure out which way the wind is blowing and then go with which way the wind is blowing. I don't think that serves my constituents well. And frankly, it would not be satisfying to me. I'm in office partly because I do have some things that I feel strongly about. But I never have any doubt at all about who the ultimate boss is. That's one of the great things about democracy. There's no doubt at all about who's in charge in the end. It's not me.
And that's the toughest question of all. That's the question that everybody really needs to answer in their own mind. It deals issue by issue. I always try to look at it as that we work in a broader framework. We work inside the U.S. Constitution and inside the Montana Constitution. So let's say if the Montana Constitution says that you have a right to a clean and healthful environment, then it's your responsibility as an elected official to move society as close as you can to that idea. And that's where you also may have a disagreement on how best to do that. But I think as much as possible you should reflect your constituents' views. And I believe that's an information thing, that's an educational thing, because I honestly believe if people have the same information over a period of time, they'll come to an agreement on what needs to be done and how to do it. But can we afford that time, or do we have that time? It doesn't seem possible. And that's one of the challenges that we have there.
As a citizen, I have some ideas about how I think that local government, city government, might be improved, and of course, as somebody who has been involved in it, I have reason to have some maybe more strongly held opinions about that. The strongest opinion I have right now is of the importance of this election. This, in effect, what it amounts to is having a constitutional convention for the city of Missoula to see whether we want to change our constitution and really whether we would want to write a constitution for ourselves, because that's the opportunity we have right now. We could write, in effect, a constitution for the city of Missoula. It's the first chance we've really had to do that, because all of the other local government reviews we've had have been about consolidation of city and county. And frankly, I think it might have been better if we were doing both right now. I voted for both. But the fact that we have a chance just to look at city government is a unique opportunity. And it is very important that we have good people running for this commission. Above all, I hope that we can get some people there who have a breadth of experience, a depth of experience, who know Missoula well, who care deeply about Missoula, and who don't have particular axes to grind. I think that it's important that we have real statesmen and stateswomen in those positions. So I want to encourage people to file before the 25th of August if they can. Once we get the commission elected, then it's going to have a lot of work to do. I hope we will look at writing a charter, that is a constitution for the city government, instead of what we have done, which is to take off the shelf a form of government, a form that is prescribed by state law. We don't have to take it off the shelf. I think Missoula is a creative enough city that we ought to figure this out for ourselves. I think that there's one thing that above all we should do, and that is to write into a charter self-governing powers. State law provides that there are really two ways you can go with local government in Montana. Either you can simply have for local government the powers that are given by state law, or you can acquire self-governing powers, which means that you have all the powers not denied by state law. We're now in the first category. I feel strongly that we ought to be in the second category. As a self-governing people here in Missoula, we should take unto ourselves the powers that are available to us. And that's a simple thing that we can do during this local governing process. Otherwise, I think that there are things that we might look at in terms of changes in the way that we govern ourselves. One thing that I have suggested before and continue to believe in is that we should look at some mixture of neighborhood representation on city council. I strongly favor neighborhood representation. I believe Missoula's neighborhoods are an important part of what makes Missoula unique. I also think, though, that those cities that blend neighborhood representation with some at-large representation get the best of both worlds. I think that our local government might work better if we had some people who are specifically elected to the city council to represent the whole city and not just neighborhoods. But that's just one person's opinion. Mostly I'm just looking forward to the process.
I think we need to study the structure of local government. Right now I believe that I think the council is too large now to work effectively, as effective as it needs to work. Our city has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, and the issues are very complex, and we're going to have to change how we manage the city, how we work with the city. Now, whether we should look at a city manager or maybe fewer council people and a more, I don't know, with the ability to spend longer times down here. I don't know, that's different things we should look at, but I think we do need to look at it. We're not going to be able to continue the next 10 years like we have the last 10 years. So we do need to make some changes, and I would hope that the people who serve on that local government review are knowledgeable people and people who are very, and I believe they would be very concerned about the community and to look at all the options. We just have to come up with something better than we have right now.
I've put a lot of energy into growth management planning. I'm very pleased that the city and the county are working so well together on that now, and I'm going to continue to devote a lot of my energy to that. I'm also very pleased that the city council has decided to take up strategic planning of its own, and I want to make sure that the executive branch is doing everything we can to assist the council with that. So those are the areas that I'm most concerned about. I want to see us continue to aggressively address issues of affordable housing. We've got a major decision coming up on annexation of the Reserve Street corridor, and that'll be a major issue for us for the next few months.
one thing that's going to happen is the council will spend some time on strategic planning, where the council tries to come to some kind of agreement on some of the major areas we want to deal with. I think that's very important. It's extremely important. As far as issues go, I think annexation will be a big issue, whether we continue to annex down Reserve Street. And the issues that go with annexation or provision of services, primarily sewer and fire, seem to be the most difficult at this point in time. Zoning issues, zoning of the rattlesnake, that's going to be a very major issue because it's so important to the community as a whole. I mean, that's why it's a major issue. We have growth management issues, housing, infrastructure, land use. Those type of issues, I think, will dominate the next 6 months. Well, actually, next year, really.
Well, I really enjoy being the mayor of Missoula. I've sometimes told people only half facetiously that I think it may be the best job in the world. That's from somebody who loves politics, and I realize that it's not a job that everybody would like to do, and I don't like it every minute of the time. I'll be honest about that. But this is a great city. It's an incredibly diverse and creative city, and I think the most rewarding part of the job is just sort of being close enough to the storm center of all of that creativity that you get to know what's going on, you get to work with the people that are trying to make things happen, and for me, again, as somebody with a lifelong fascination with politics, to be involved in that in a political way, where you're trying to use whatever political skills you have to make things better, is just tremendously rewarding. Frankly, I think the part of the job that I probably like the least is chairing city council meetings. In a way, that the mayor is there simply as the servant of the city council. I mean, they are the council's meetings in effect, and a lot of places the president of the council would chair those meetings. I actually don't object to it. I enjoy a lot of aspects of that too, but especially when we can't seem to move along from one topic to another, I get a little frustrated by that, and people who watch MCAT probably know that I do.
One of the most frustrating aspects of the city council, I think, is that if you come in from the outside and you have a single issue you're looking at, sometimes a perception that issues are easier than they are, that they don't impact any other areas or any other issues. And that's kind of a frustrating thing, because if you sit here, the longer you're in this area, you see how things interrelate a lot closer than what people perceive them to. So that's one frustrating thing. The other one is the slowness of the process. It takes a long time to get something through here, and that's not only frustrating for the citizenry, but it's frustrating for the council people as well. I think politics itself is a frustrating thing for me. I have anytime you're in a minority, like I am, I mean, it'd be easy to be very political, because you could always blame everything, hey, we didn't do anything, we didn't have anything to do. I've always tried not to do that, but politics is very tough, and people look at politics as being very bad, and in a lot of ways it is, but I'll give you an example too. Let's talk about this last thing with family definition. Okay, you definitely have certain people in the council that have constituents that really want them to push a certain thing, and definitely you're supposed to be responsive to the citizenry. Okay, the night we vote on it, it's already referred back to committee, and so that kind of thing is frustrating for me, just because I think if it just goes back and it goes down the same way, it'll be the same result. So it's like a lot of wasted time. It's a lot of wasted energy, not only the citizens' energy, but the council's energy. And there's many issues that we need to be dealing with. I'd rather see it like if we could stay put for a second and then talk, and if there's other ways to approach it, to come in, if there's definitely problems out there, if there's other ways to approach them, to discuss those first, and then come in with the referral, but to just refer it back. But a lot of that's driven by politics. I mean, not only inside the council, but outside the council. And so that's a frustrating aspect of this job. I mean, if I just had all the time in the world to sit here and talk about different issues, that'd be great. I mean, we could refer things over and over, forever, but a lot of us have different things going on in their lives too. I think the good part is that some issues do go in the right direction. Let's say the water quality district. That was, I think that's a benefit for everyone in the community with really not too much negative impact. And so I think that there are issues that when they do come together, they do provide a benefit for everyone. And so I think that's really one of the positives about it. It's not all frustrating. You meet a lot of people. There are a lot of really good people that really like to be involved, and I've appreciated that over the time I've been in office.
Well, there's probably nothing that captures for me more what I enjoy about living in Missoula than these great bi-weekly events or twice-a-week events that we have all summer long, between Saturday morning farmers market and Wednesday out to lunch. I think that for me that captures what's so great about Missoula, the fact that it's a small enough town where you run into a lot of people that you sort of see the whole fabric of your community at work in those places, and yet it's large enough that you're always meeting somebody new and somebody with new ideas. So those two things I never miss if I'm in town, and they sort of sum up for me what's so wonderful about Missoula. And as far as what government can do to help with any of that, well, I think we do a lot, actually. In the case of both of those events, the places where they happen have been provided, among other things, by wise government investment. We provide the police and fire protection that helps to make them safe. But I think above all that what we can do as a local government is to encourage the kind of citizen activity and citizen involvement that actually creates this tremendously rich fabric that makes Missoula such a satisfying place to work. So government is just part of that fabric. We can be a facilitator for it, we can be a convener for it, but we can never do the whole job ourselves.
If you just say the one thing that you really enjoy, it's a beautiful place. I think the place itself is what I enjoy the very most. And I'm like everyone else. If this same place would be where there are only 2,000 people and I can make a living there, I would live there. But the place itself is very beautiful, and that's one thing I really do enjoy. And how we keep it that way is really one of the main challenges of the council. And things change all the time, so it's not like you can stop change, but what you want to do is direct it to where you see it go like you'd like to see it go, and that's very difficult because we have a hard time picturing where we want to be.